Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
About the future of the economy of the United States, if we don't have more computer science majors, we're in big trouble. And if half of our population, the female half, is not going to major in computer science, we're in big trouble. If we don't have women participating in creating the solutions to technical problems, I can promise you that the technical solutions will not be as good.
We need to have diverse teams to create the world's greatest innovations. We need to build the talent pipeline, and to do that requires us to excite young women in middle school and high school to the future of computer science.
It's really important to have a strong foundation at an earlier age with computer science related tools like simple programming or even things disguised as games.
Giving them experiences to hands-on play with technology and computer science, to give them passion.
It's that initial spark that really keeps them engaged in the field, inspiring them to pursue careers in science technology.
Another key ingredient to help keep girls in the computer science track is to help them be aware of opportunities with great organizations like the Anita Borg Institute and the National Center for Women in Technology.
NCWIT does a lot of work in Washington, D.C. because we're working very hard to make sure that policymakers understand the importance of girls and women's participation in computing. We're mobilizing all kinds of ways. In 20 years, we're going to see what women invent when they invent technology, because right now we really don't know what women would invent if they were at the technical design table.
We have an executive team that's really ready to take the Anita Borg Institute to the next level. Our signature program is the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing. This year we have 3,600 people descending on Baltimore, Maryland. 1,500 of these are students. And for them, it's often the first time they've come to a conference. It can be life-changing.
Grace Hopper is the most exciting event ever, pretty much, because being in a computer science department that's so vibrant as the one at Brown's is great, but there just aren't enough women. In my 125 lecture, there's 4 girls, and you're here, and this all the girls who have that feeling in one place.
It's just so inspiring to see how many girls have the same interests as me. You walk around knowing that every single girl here has something amazing that they've done. It's really amazing how many technologies are out there and how many women from all nationalities are in these fields.
I've been very fortunate to have a lot of mentors throughout my career, and it's those mentors who have helped shape me, and I hope with that knowledge I can be a good mentor to other women that I work with on a daily basis.
Right now at Microsoft Research, I'm working with Rain Johnson. I think it's really important that women early in their careers, just entering computer science in college or even in high school, have a female mentor. I get to see how someone very similar to me, someone with the same energy, with the same passions, how they live their life. And it lets me know what my future could be like. And having Rain as a mentor lets me see that I can be successful exactly as the person I am. I've gone to Haiti twice now through an organization that I partner with that's STARS Alliance. We were able to start teaching introductory computer science and programming skills to a group of young women who served as mentors in 3 of the schools in rural northern Haiti. You can bring in food and solutions that will last a short term, or you can bring in solutions that enable the people to really take control of their destiny.
One of the things that was really important when I met Katie is her passion to make a difference in the world. We know one reason that we're losing a lot of young women in computer science is the lack of awareness that computer science really does change the world. Young women today want to make an impact, And that's why we also partner with NetHope.
NetHope Women's Tech Connect is a global community of practice and a professional online mentoring program to support women in developing world to get into technology. We put them through a training in technology that's relevant for their particular community, for their particular country, and then place them in internships in nonprofits in those local areas so that they can get actual real world experience. And 90% of the time, those internships turn into jobs.
Computer science is a very creative field. It's a field where you do a lot of problem solving and collaboration. And it's a field that is changing the world. It's helping make innovations in healthcare, in the environment, all around us.
Young women need to know that computer science is about people, whether that person is your end user of a product or someone who you're teaching or someone who you're inspiring to really pick up the reins and become the next great technologist. Computer science is about people, not the technology.
We will bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap
To future innovation together.
To future innovation together.
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 Through diversity,
Through diversity.
Through diversity and creativity.
Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
All right. I actually didn't know that little bookend at the end was going to come up, so thank you for indulging us in that. And thank you for joining us this afternoon at our noontime session on innovations and research in attracting women to computing. We have a very esteemed panel of experts in that subject, and I'm delighted to be your facilitator for the conversation. My name's Roy Zimmerman, and I'm the Director of Education and Scholarly Communication in Microsoft Research Connections here at Microsoft Research in Redmond. And I would like to introduce our panel and then invite them to share a little bit more information about themselves and the work that they're doing to promote women in computing. First, we have Catherine McKinley, immediately to my left. Catherine is a principal researcher at Microsoft Research. She likes to solve programming language implementation problems and make systems faster, more reliable, secure, and energy efficient. Lucy Sanders is CEO and co-founder of the National Center for Women and Information Technology, a consortium of more than 300 corporations, universities, and nonprofits working to increase the participation of girls and women in computing and information technology. Juliana Sales is Microsoft Research Connections Senior Research Program Manager in Brazil, where she engages with academics on projects that use technology to enable and accelerate knowledge in such areas as tropical environments and their response to climate change, bioenergy, and biodiversity. Next to Juliana, we have Constance Steinkuhler, who is an associate professor in digital media at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and co-directs the Games Plus Learning Plus Society Center, or GLS. Her research is on cognition and learning in commercial entertainment games and games for impact. And rounding out our panel on the left there is Tiffany Barnes, who's an associate professor of computer science at North Carolina State University. Her research focuses on serious games and artificial intelligence in education, particularly how to develop games to teach computing and how to use computing to improve learning software. So, Catherine, I will hand the control module over to you.
Can I use it, though? Forward. All right, I'm Catherine McKinley. Part of the reason I'm here today is because I'm the co-chair of CRAW, which is the Computing Research Association, which is encouraging computing research, and the Committee for Women to try to improve diversity of women, and we also work on the general diversity of underrepresented groups. So society has changed a lot in the past 20 years, and as computer scientists, most of us in the audience are also part of social change. And social change takes a long time, all right? But we see social change around us all the time. So the most recent Supreme Court decisions had some social change in them. And so, but social change takes time. And so you have to have sustained support of diversity in order to see that pan out. I can't be here in front of you as a senior researcher in computer science, an ACM fellow, and an IEEE fellow if people didn't invest in me from high school to now. Okay, so one of the things, so I'm going to talk to you about the top of the pipeline, which as academics you have the most influence on, who you invest in, and how you invest in, how you choose your PhD students, how you encourage your students in your class to persist and succeed. That makes a huge difference. And you have to pick diverse people, because even if you're diverse, even if I'm a woman, I apparently have all the same biases as everybody else and all the men, and I'll choose to call on the man more than the woman. All right? So you have to make a concentrated effort in self-change and support. And so one of the things at CRAW that we've done is try to encourage graduate students in the first, second, and third year of grad school, because we're focused on research, we need leaders in the field, and this is a critical juncture at which a lot of women and underrepresented minorities drop out. And here we're trying to help them succeed, and the ways we help them succeed is we give them strategies and information on navigating graduate school. We teach them how to go to a conference and develop a social network in their research area. We give them specific instructions on how to write a paper, why to write one, and early insights into what potential career paths they could be having. And we have a lot of senior women come and give the lectures, sit with them at lunch, and then they learn about computing from the inside out, and they have good role models. All right, so we've been running this program for over 10 years now. Microsoft and Google initially were the primary supporters. Microsoft has maintained its support across this whole period. Google's support has dropped a little, and we've gotten a lot of funding from other sources more recently. But Google and Microsoft got this program started with their funding because they cared. So here are the numbers. So when we started in 2004, 181 women earned their PhD that year. This year, the most recent year, we have 358, and we can take some credit for that because the numbers of women, the percentage of women getting undergrad degrees in computer science, although I don't have this on my graph, dropped during that period. So now we have 500 applicants, which if you compare 500 with 358, we have more applicants than there are PhDs. So we could be reaching almost everyone, but we don't have quite enough money. This year we had the most money ever. We had 302 women that we were able to bring. So does it work, though? So we do social intervention. How do we measure if it works? You have to have a national comparison group. So this year, the CRAW and CDC helped form SERP, which is an organization also under CRA, which evaluates the research pipeline by surveying people in computing research careers and who go to our programs, and then comparing the outcomes between these two people. And so it does work. So right now, we just started this measurement. So one of the things we're measuring not is if you got your PhD, although we're going to measure that soon, but right now we're measuring just the intermediate outcomes. You're at the same stage in your PhD as all these other people. Do you produce some of the things that indicate you'll have success later? Are you a first author of a refereed publication? 71% who went to our workshop have one of those, and 23% of the general grad student population has it. And we break these statistics down by institution, so top-ranked, PhD granting, and other ways, and however you slice it, this comes out good. So what this tells us is social engineering in computer science has a benefit. You bring a bunch of women together, you tell them they can succeed in computer science, you give them the instructions on how to write a good paper, that the point of doing research is to write about it and get it out there, and that works. All right. But we can't stop there, because we have to have this diversity, virtuous cycle to diversity in research. You have to encourage the women at your home institution. There have to be role models. If we have MOOCs and we have one person teaching the whole world computer architecture, that person should be a woman or a minority, because that will influence more women to go in the field. So if you've ever been to an ice rink and you see all the future stars in ice rinks, they all look like Michelle Kwan now, because she inspired a generation of young Asian women to try ice skating, and that wasn't happening in the U.S. before her. So these people make a huge difference. So inspire your students. Look at yourself. Know that you're biased, even if you're a woman, and give them the experience, give them high expectations, and they're there because they can succeed, not because they were earmarked. So thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Catherine. Just a note about our format. I've asked all of the panelists to please speak fast, as you might have just noticed, because we do have an abbreviated time frame, and we want to make sure that we have time for questions and answers after each presentation. Thanks, Catherine.
Right.
Lucy?
Yes. Is this on? Oh, good. Good afternoon. You're making me hungry. I'm sitting here watching you eat. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. My simple goal in the next 5 minutes is to inspire all of you who are not already participating with Aspirations in Computing to participate. It's a very exciting, grassroots, viral growth kind of a program that's aim is to increase girls and women's participation in computing in the educational pipeline, and one of these days when we take over the world, beyond. So let me tell you a little bit about how the program works real quick. It starts with an award component. I'm over on the left side of the chart. It starts with an award component. This is at the national level as well as at the local level. And young women come to a portal. They apply for the award. It's not really a contest or anything. They apply based on demonstrated technical capabilities and leadership capabilities. They are judged by 4 independent judges. All identification of these young women is removed from the application form, and all the judging is done online, and they have a technology rubric, and we assign numeric scores and we draw the lines, and then we decide who the semifinalists are and who the finalists are. And the national winners receive $500 and a trip to a gala and a laptop, and I'll show you a picture in a moment. They also got a Surface this year, so that was very cool as well. Now this generates then a cycle of recognition in the press, encouragement for the young women from their communities as well as from their adult stakeholders, publicity. We ask the schools where they attend to issue publicity about receiving the award, and then you can start to see this whole cycle work. The buzz builds, more and more young women apply, self-identify as technologists, come to the portal and apply, and the community gets larger. But the award component is really the talent search. It's really the talent search. It's just the beginning, because the real thing is to get them into an online community, get them peer networking with each other, right? Sometimes, you know, we put contests in front of them, like mobile app development or something else, and they have a good time that way. But they form a community. We also have about 275 universities as members of NCWIT, and they're able to offer them scholarships. The corporations offer them internships, ultimately jobs. So you see how it sort of works? It's kind of, and then we keep track of them all the way from high school through college. They're in this community. So that's how the program works. We're starting to see now members of this community, the Aspirations participants themselves, are starting to do pay it forward types of things by hosting middle school opportunities in the areas where they live, partnering with universities and other organizations. So you can see that full pipeline starting to take shape. It's working as well. Like Catherine, a few metrics for you. This year alone, we recognized 1,000 young women across the country. So you can see the growth. We started this really in about 2008. And what? Oh, no, I get to talk a little longer. And because I'm bragging, okay? And you can see the diversity, and that's, of course, because we have removed the identification of the young women from the application forms. This is a best practice, right? So you can see that the diversity is terrific. All 50 states represented, lots of volunteers serving as judges online, And we now know from the young women going into college that 80% persist in male-dominant STEM professions and about 63% in computing. So really great statistics. Here they are. There's a young woman with the Surface, just in heaven. And I wanted to point out we have some of our young women who are interning here at Microsoft right here on the front row. You want to wave at everybody so you can talk to them about their yay. And Ruth Farmer is the director for Aspirations in Computing. She's sitting next to them. And if you want any information about the program, you can talk to Ruth.
Lucy, can I ask a quick question? Is there any way to replicate that emotion on everyone's face whenever they get a Surface?
Well, I suspect that Microsoft could hire her for a commercial or something. You know, I mean, she does seem to have that look about her, I believe. And last but not least, I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about the innovation behind this program, because there is an innovation in how it scales. And so I just wanted to point that out, because even though this is a program here, you know, mostly in the US, it can work in other countries as well. So NCWIC provides the infrastructure. We provide the technology portal, the project management. We put the call out for the award programs. So we sort of run the basic infrastructure. Our member organizations, now up to about 450, provide the local clusters, the local events. They plan them, they host them. They also are the organizations that are offering them scholarships and internships and jobs. We have the online community where the young women themselves then participate as leaders in their community and do outreach. And then at the topmost level, when you put it all together, we have a growing, very impressive talent pool for computer science computing in the United States. And so the final thought here is together we're doing this. This isn't just NCWIT, it's all of us. And then that's what it's going to take to really turn the corner on creating this kind of a pipeline, is all of us working together at the organizational level across the United States and beyond. And one of our goals moving forward this year is to connect all this to the wonderful programs that Catherine just mentioned, the CRAW programs, because we now have participants that are, you know, really becoming eligible for those kinds of programs. So you can start to see how this bridge the gap type of approach for the full talent pipeline is starting to come together. Thank you. There's a traffic jam here.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Juliana Salles. I'm going to share with you the efforts we've been doing in Latin America to attract and grow women in computing. And we've been working on that since 2008. And when we started, we knew it was an issue in the region, but we didn't know what the statistics were. And our main effort at the time was to gather enough data to actually go and talk to people, because people were like, is this really an issue? I don't know, I'm not quite sure. So we wanted to get a meaningful set of statistics that could help us in shaping the discussion with the community. And that turned out to be quite challenging. Because first of all, when you think about having pipeline statistics to the region as a whole, things change a lot from one country to the other. And even in one single country, there are severe differences. And I remember once reaching out for some programs, it was even hard to, they didn't even have a gender field into the enrollment form. So it's virtually impossible to track you know, the trends in terms of pipeline and gender participation in CS programs with this reality. So we worked a lot with thought leaders from different countries trying to collect some stats. And we got to the point that we knew it's pretty much the same as in most countries. We have around 10% of women in IT, and the number is declining. So that's pretty much what we got. And then we decided to move on to other actions that could raise awareness about, among a broader group of people. Another thing that was that motivated us to go this direction is that many of the best practices that we learn here from NCWIT and other partners are not traditionally practiced in the culture, like mentoring programs and things like that, coaching. So we wanted to take some of these approaches, but it was hard to get people involved without full awareness about the gender issues in the schools, for example. So we tried to have 3 different pilots to test different approaches, and we had a pilot in Mexico, which was more like generic pipeline type of thing. So we had grad students talking to, trying to attract kids to CS programs. We had a pilot program in Colombia, and they were very interested in the data gathering process. They wanted to get more qualitative data to understand why women don't choose to follow this career path. And in Brazil, we tried to an approach related to speaker series and a series of workshops to involve a department in the north of the country. And that was interesting. We had some good results, but we still couldn't get the buzz in each of the departments that we were expecting. It got some visibility. People were talking about that, but we felt we needed to get more discussions in each of the communities we were reaching. So this year we had the Girls International Hackathon organized by RAIN, which was an international event, and we had a Brazilian girls group led by Professor Rosiane from Federal University of Amazonas. So in the very north of the country. That was very good because typically most of the actions we have are related to the Southeast, because those are the folks who are already doing some efforts there. So that was a good opportunity. We got a good group of girls. They were very motivated, but we needed to do some special design to involve and encourage the girls to participate. So just presenting the challenge to them, come and participate in this programming contest, was not enough. So we partnered together with Rosiane and I and folks that could offer some training about Windows Phone programming and things like that, and offered the girls coaching, communications coaching, presentation, usability training, programming. That actually was a very good point to the girls, because they felt by the time they submitted their app, they felt they acquired new skills. Not only, they were confident about and proud about what they put together, but they felt they are actually more skilled. They gained a different perspective about things. On the other hand, we felt that the main issue to make this program successful is the person you partner with. And because we are in the level in this region that there is not much awareness about gender balance. You need to find a partner. People might be passionate about it, but you need to find a partner that is willing to take the time and put the effort in making it work. And this is hard because faculty are measured by how much they publish, how many classes they teach, and it's hard to find the time to commit. And Rosiane was a great partner, so that was key to the success of this particular initiative. And the outcomes were great because we wanted to start modestly, so we had a small group of girls. They were quite skeptical about their abilities to deliver in the beginning, but as they were working in this project, they gained so much confidence. They exposed themselves to situations that initially they wouldn't. They were forced to come and talk to people. They got a ton of visibility, and typically that's the type of scenario they would avoid. And that's the type of thing we want them to make. And now they are making new choices. They want to try new things. They want to apply to internships. So we can see the results are amazing. Although it's a small initiative, we can see it got very good results to that small group. And the good point is that it got a lot of visibility in that particular community, that particular school. So one of the things that is happening now is that other groups want to participate, and groups of guys, groups of boys wants to come, and participate in the competition as well. So that's the type of thing we want to happen, because we want to change culture. We want to get both girls and boys involved in this discussion. So although it's still a small initiative, it's getting the type of impact we are hoping, which is, growing beyond a small group of people and reaching a full department, a full school, and people are talking about that and being more interested about this topic. So this is basically what we've been doing, and the initiative here, the goal for this year is to grow from a small group to a couple of groups, and hopefully to involve, to get some mixed gender groups as well participating in the competition this year. Okay, that's what I had.
I'm shocked to hear that boys started to show up at functions where there were lots of girls around. Who would have thought?
Strategy, right?
So good afternoon. My name is Constance Steinkuhler, and I'm at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we're working on some projects that actually are going for a fairly young demographic, trying to grab kids, girls, right as they enter middle school before they hit puberty. We have a team at our studio. I work in something called the Games Learning and Society Lab, where we build and study games and their cognitive learning and social impacts. So we've been working on games, gameplay, and games as a vehicle for other kinds of skills and cognitive sort of intellectual abilities for quite some time. But to start off, and one reason that we've been thinking through this project is that, you know, girls game, and for many years they were sort of the silent players, but if 97% of the American population between 12 and 17 game, 99% of boys game, but 94% of girls game. It just turns out that girls usually are playing a different kind of game. And in our work and our research for the last decade, we've been showing how games are, in fact, a really great sort of gateway into other kinds of activities, particularly code and computer science. If you've spent long enough fanning out or nerding out about particular game titles, you know, fandom communities emerge that are actually trying to hack, retro engineer, or otherwise build mods, modifications, etc. around game type titles. So that was sort of where we started from the last decade. But we started partnering with Microsoft around Kodu, which is basically a visual interface for coding and creating games, trying to blur that line not just from playing games but into creating them. And part of our role originally was to build what we call Studio K. And this is a full sort of online community type structured and mentored interaction around Kodu to buoy up what kind of work kids and young people are doing on Kodu. And as part of that, we started seeing that it might be time for us to think about not just structuring that curriculum content, but thinking about particular ways in which we can better engage girls. It turns out, of course, that those same design strategies for better engaging girls also turn out to be just making a better online community, period, by the way. But when we looked at some of our original results, it turns out that if you look at things like coding complexity over time of young kids who had originally starting off not espouse any interest in code or computer science whatsoever, their coding complexity over time dramatically increased, and there were no gender effects, which is a good thing to have, a good thing to check against. So part of what we've been focusing on the last 6 months, we're really in our infancy, is trying to create this space for girls around their play spaces. How do girls start to hack into games and use that as an interest-driven form of getting into computer science? Now that's a long and tall order. If you look at things like the new effort to create AP courses around computer science, this is the one for basic computational literacy skills, still only 16% of girls actually are the demographic that's taking that course. So part of what we've done is said, okay, well, we can try to sort of gin up interest along middle school girls and making sure that we can keep them engaged in something like early computational literacy. But the next thing that we're trying to tackle right now is creating something like a MOOC. Boy, I hate that acronym. Massively online open course. If someone can come up with a better acronym, please let me know. So I've been working on one for video games and learning based on a popular undergraduate course we teach. And so right now what we're trying to tackle is how would we make one that's free, that's an AP prep course, targeting specifically women, doing things like engaging female faculty to teach those courses, to be the centerpiece of what it would mean to teach an AP prep course online. And so that's sort of our next tackle. So we're thinking about where can we start to work on problem or choke points in the pipeline of getting young women into these spaces.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming to our session. I'm Tiffany Barnes. I'm an associate professor of computer science at North Carolina State University. And I'm going to talk to you about the STARS Alliance. And it was a alliance formed with funding from the National Science Foundation in 2006, and we're funded through 2016, and we have 42 universities and colleges involved with us this past school year, and probably we'll have a few more this coming year. And what it centers around is actually having college students, undergraduates and graduate students, getting engaged in this problem of getting more people into computing. So our goal and our purpose is to broaden participation, and we have an annual conference called the STAR Celebration, which will be held in Atlanta August 14 to 16 this year, and we will bring all of our students from across these 42 institutions, and anyone else is invited to come as well, to come together, learn about the underrepresentation we have in computer science for women and underrepresented minorities. And then we have a call to action for them to do something about it. So student members in STARS actually undertake a student-led project where they partner with regional organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs or local K-12 schools or nonprofits to do projects that use their computing skills to make the world a better place or to bring more people into computing. And so this diagram you see up on your right is sort of a picture of all the things that we do. So basically the center of our organization is the student who's in university or college, and they are encouraged to develop their leadership skills and to go out into the community and do something to make a difference. And it may be on their college campus, so their types of activities could include tutoring on campus, mentoring other students in the program, doing tours for high school students to visit their computer science program, or they may actually go out to K-12 schools and do mentoring or outreach projects like using Kodu or robotics or games to get students interested. And we have tiered participations all the way from K-12 students all the way up through faculty and industry. And that conference really instills in them the values of our program, and of actually that computing is a skill that we're privileged to have, and that it's part of our responsibility to give back with that. And that resonates with women and with underrepresented minorities. We've also scaled some other practices, including mentoring, pair programming or pair learning, research experiences across the Alliance, which are also very, very good. So we've had a total of over 1,100 students in the STARS Alliance since 2006, and we've had 88 faculty involved from 49 different schools. The few that aren't continuing are ones that decided that they were going to continue doing STARS, but not necessarily to send us reports that we require every year. Or else there was one school that didn't have a computing department, and our direction wasn't appropriate for them. So half of those students are women. So that is over 550 women have been in STARS, over 45% African American and 10% Hispanic. And these are orders of magnitude higher than the number of women we have in general computing programs. So we are targeting these underrepresented minorities. But we do have plenty of white men in our programs too, who are interested in making a difference. And these groups, the students choose what kind of projects they'd like to do. And what they have done is many of them have chosen to do outreach to K through 12, and they have conducted outreach to over 46,000 K through 12 students in these 6 years. And we're very excited about that. And the average number of contact hours is about 2.5 or 3. So each of those people has spent a few hours with people in computing who are interested in getting them excited about it. We've developed leaders, the faculty and the students themselves are all developing their leadership skills and making decisions about how to make a difference in computing. And we've actually added 27 new schools in our partnerships since 2011. And we say that STARS has been institutionalized in 18 schools. And what that means is that those schools have adopted STARS practices into their everyday business. So they have a student organization or a class or requirements that engage students in the STARS community and in doing something to give back. And we have had 7 celebrations with over 1,700 attendees. And we're building a national community of broadening participation in computing leaders. And we have almost 700 people in our online portal. You're welcome to join it. We're also trying to take our best practices and put them in a digital library to share with everyone, and that's part of the broadening participation portal online, and we've written papers about what we're doing. And just to give you an idea of what you might be able to do, even if you don't join STARS, you're probably already doing a lot of STARS type activities at your university. Most universities have some kind of cohort of students that are a fleet of TAs for some introductory courses. You probably have some kind of mentoring program, even if it's through sort of a higher level in your college or something. But what we do is we put a community around that. And we empower the students to make decisions about how they'd like to make a difference in computing. And we encourage them to do that together as a group. So if you have a program, say, where you have students mentoring one another, get them together, call them STARS, and ask them to think about how they can get more people involved and get people excited about computing. Empowering them with that vision actually makes a big difference for the students, and sort of treating them as a community, getting them together and honoring them and recognizing their achievements actually makes a big difference. And the celebration is one big way that they see that there's a community of people that are really interested in this and they feel a part of something larger. And we've actually seen that participation in STARS has improved computing efficacy, the perceived social relevance of computing, their commitment to computing as a field and a career, their identity as people who are in computing, and their GPA has all gone up. And so you may have thought that we're often getting the best students in computing because those are some of the best people to recruit more people, but also, they're spending time outside of class doing things that aren't computing assignments. So you might expect that their GPA would go down, but it doesn't, in fact. And many of them are now interested in graduate school. So I think I've said most of this. But we actually actively promote all the institutions in STARS to build partnerships with regional organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs or others. And it looks like I'm out of time. But it's a good thing I only have one more slide. So, and we've done lots of different types of outreach and different types of collaboration with other organizations, and I'm very happy to talk to you about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany, and everyone else. So I would like to take a moment before, is this working? Yeah. Before we open up the floor to questions, just to acknowledge Rain Johnson, who couldn't be here with us today, unfortunately. But if she was here, she would be sitting right here, and I would be sitting out there somewhere. So we look forward to Rain coming back very soon. So I was planning on asking each of you very provocative and engaging questions, but because we're down to about 10 minutes left, I think it'd be best if we open it up to the group and ask you to ask the provocative and engaging questions. Yeah, right here.
All right. I would like to start by thanking all of you for the efforts that I was a personal recipient of efforts like yours to encourage women in computing. I felt there was a really common theme, and it was a common theme of reaching out to individual women, encouraging them through, trying to help them create a community, and using that community sort of reinforce and grow. So I wanted to, I was just recently Measure for America, a study that from the Social Science Research Council announced that women get paid 49 cents on the dollar in Silicon Valley. This is lower than the 77 cents on the dollar that they get paid in the United States, far lower. And the reason I sort of started thinking about this is that that's a really significant structural disincentive, right? What does it say to, now we all know this, to like, come work for me, you can get paid less than half of what any male colleague will get paid, and maybe I'm being a little extreme there. You know, this is despite the Equal Pay Act of 1963 in the US, and I sort of wonder, like, what do we do about these really significant structural disincentives? How do we engage those? Because I think they interact with your efforts to encourage individual women, because they sit out there in the ecosphere of career choices. And so I sort of wondered, what do we do about these structural disincentives? How do we handle those?
Yep, that's a good question. Anybody want to take it?
I can take it. It sounds like a workforce question. So I think I don't have an answer. It's not like we know exactly how we would storm that, barricade. But a couple things kind of come to mind. One, we are working now through our Workforce Alliance and other groups in the corporate sphere and startups as well to educate about best practices. Try to put that data in front of people and along with ideas about what they can do about it, with the hope that we're all good-spirited, fair people, and that once people are made aware of some of this, that things can change. Okay, now I don't want to sound overly naive, but I think there's maybe another hidden conversation there. I'm not sure because I don't have all the data for this, but some of that is also what types of technical jobs women occupy as compared to the types of technical jobs in the workforce that men occupy, by and large. Right? So a large number of technical women report being in some of the lower paid kinds of jobs. And so part of what we want to do is, again, put that issue up in front of our corporate partners and others and say, think about this. And also in front of the women, you know, think about this. Like, where do you want to go? We want women inventing technology, right? So not a great answer to your question. Maybe someone can expand on that, but I feel like it's a very rich question.
So, Catherine, go ahead, but
So-
let's try and keep moving because I want to get more
expand
questions.
a little in terms of corporate mentality is profit-driven. The arguments for diversity in your workforce mean you make more money. A more diverse sales force sells more of your products. And so if you can make these business arguments for diversity, people are much more motivated to hire diversely and keep people happy, and part of that is reviewing their salaries. So several years ago at Microsoft, this was bought in the whole chain, and now people are monitoring it. And when you monitor stuff, things start to change. Just like when you write down what you put in your checkbook every day, you change your spending habits if you monitor it. And so those kinds of cycles take time, but I think the NC WIT stuff I cite all the time now on why diversity matters in your business and makes you a better business. And I think that has to be the ground start, not just because we feel good because more people look different. It's because it helps your business and your bottom line needs more diverse workforce. And so, yes, it's discouraging for women now, but I think more and more companies realize this and are trying to fix it. So that helps, and then go to a company like Microsoft, which monitors it, and then you don't see such a big disparity.
Thank you. So, anyone else? Yes, and I will ask the questioners to try and be as concise as you can, so we can maximize the number of questions we can get in, and the same thing to the respondents.
Hi, Barbara Gross, Harvard. I've watched and tracked these issues for several decades now, and first I want to say thank you and how fabulous all of your work is. And I have many questions, but I'll focus on one, which is related to the issue of getting more girls into AP courses, which I think is a critical space. And the question is, all of you who are working with K-12 are doing great activities that are getting them really excited. I haven't looked at the AP courses for a while, but they don't do that kind of activity. So what about getting some lobbying going to change the AP courses and the AP exam so that it would be better not only attract more girls, but attract different kinds of guys?
Yep. Tiffany, would you like to respond?
Yes, I would like to respond to that. I should have put a slide about this. There is an effort called APCS Principles for a new advanced placement exam, and it is specifically designed to attract a broader participation from women and underrepresented minorities. And it has been in pilot since 2010. So it has had an extraordinary group of CS educators designing the exam, and every implementation of the course is full of exciting and cool stuff, including everything from games and Scratch to Alice, robots, App Inventor. And if you're interested in that, check out csprinciples.org. And specifically, my project is The Beauty and Joy of Computing.
Great. Another question? Yep, here in the front. You have a mic coming.
Leanna Golubchik, USC. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on computer science within STEM fields, in the sense that if you look at the numbers of percentage of women undergraduates in computer science across STEM fields, we're almost the worst, I think, if not.
Physics is worse.
Physics has no undergraduates. There aren't statistically significant numbers. But other than that, you're right, other than physics, we're doing worse pretty much than anyone else. What makes us so much less attractive?
Oh, well, let me just, there's a few things real briefly. First of all, I think that right now in the United States, most of our young people don't have access to any computer science of any merit in their high schools. I think that it should be a requirement for young people to graduate from high school. I'd say all over the world, if I could be king or queen, and they don't have access to it, so they don't know. I mean, they really don't know, and so a lot of the other STEM disciplines they see in high school, but they don't see rigorous, relevant, inclusive computer science in high school. There's no exposure, really, basically, at the end of the day, and so we need to really fix that. And then I think there are other cultural issues which we don't have time to go into, where when you are in an underrepresented group in a majority kind of a situation, kind of odd dynamics happen in classrooms and cultures that really need to be brought to the forefront.
So I just want to add, if you're not aware of the initiatives that are going on in Great Britain right now to have a well-informed computing starting from K through 12, and so just having computing as part of the well-educated person to train their workforce. So to drive an initiative like that in the U.S. is much harder because of our distributed education system, but we should be motivated by competitiveness and falling behind that these kinds of programs, if they work at all, are going to be in China and India before we know it, and we're going to be behind because we haven't kept up with curriculum reform. So I think you can motivate people in a number of different ways to do much better, and then the earlier people are introduced to different fields, the more likely they are to choose them.
All right, well, I think that's about all the time we have today. Please offer our panelists one last round of applause, and thank you all also for coming.